on this edition of the Self-Publishing Show.
It's all about hooks. It's hooks, 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 like just these spicy one-liners that make you, it's, I think, what the early indie authors experienced on Facebook in the early days. All they had to do was put a post up and everybody ran and bought that book. That's the magic of TikTok right now. So I'm just going to keep throwing stuff out there until something sticks.
Publishing is changing. No more gatekeepers, no more barriers, no one standing between you and your readers. Do you want to make a living from your writing? Join indie bestseller Mark Dawson and first-time author James Blatch as they shine a light on the secrets of self-publishing success. This is the Self-Publishing Show. There's never been a better time to be a writer.
Hello and welcome. It is the Self-Publishing Show with me, James Blatch.
And me, Mark Dawson.
Just about hanging in there. We've had a storm. It wasn't a hurricane, though, apparently. It was 100-mile-an-hour winds, but for reasons...
It didn't come from the tropics. Yeah.
Didn't rotate or something. Anyway, so we've had 100-mile-an-hour winds. You have been abandoned by internet. You're having to talk to each other in the Dawson household.
We've had three storms. Very unusual. They're all quite big. We had, what was the first one?
Eunice?
No, that was the second one.
Oh, I don't know. Gladys?
Dudley. Dudley was the first one.
Dudley?
Storm Dudley, which is the most unthreatening sounding storm ever. Then Eunice, which was the bigger one. And then we had Franklin today. And Friday was Eunice. And that was interesting. Yeah, had 6 trees fell down. And a little passageway that I walked from the house into Salisbury had fallen onto the fibre and taken it down. So yeah, my internet dropped out about 11:30 on Friday morning and hasn't been back since. And we don't think it'll be back at minimum Wednesday, but that probably means like next Wednesday. So
that is really annoying. We can't live without internet. Don't they understand? We can't live without internet in this day and age.
Well, you do. I mean, we're managing, but it is kind of things. Everything is internet connected these days. So things like security cameras, they're all down. Don't come and rob me at the moment because, hopefully by the time this goes out, it'll be fixed. But yeah, all that's gone down. The kids with their iPads, they can't use those. That's lots of challenges there.
Have to read a book.
And yeah, exactly. I mean, that really is a first world problem because also I can come into the office, which is where I am at the moment, and have a normal, very fast line here as well. But it is annoying. But anyway, there's nothing I can do about it. It's going to get fixed when it gets fixed. I'll just keep badgering OpenReach on Twitter. Why hasn't my line been fixed yet? It's outrageous.
It's the way to get answers. Well, we had a first world problem because British Airways lost my daughter's skis when we went to Switzerland, which was really irritating, and we never saw them again. They sent them back to London because I won't bore you with the story. It's one for you and me over a beer at some point, but I'm still dealing with them. Anyway, look, let's park our own first world problems and move back onto the exciting world of KDP, publishing, book marketing, indie authoring, and everything else that we talk about on the Self-Publishing Show. We have a brilliant guest today. We had a really inspirational interview last week with Megan Quinn. And to complete this little mini-series, we have Amy Dawes today. So you will remember, and you may have seen this in the Facebook community group, that Lucy Score, Megan Quinn, Amy Dawes, I think Colleen Hoover was there, were like 1, 2, 3, 4 in the charts, these power romance authors. And I wanted to talk to them because they were all members of the SPF community. And we talked to Lucy from time to time. So I thought, well, we'll talk to Megan and Amy. Brilliant to meet and talk to Megan last week. And an equally absorbing interview with Amy Dawes today, who, interestingly, Mark, writes American romance books in America, but sets them in the UK based around a Premier League football team.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. That's
it is interesting.
Yeah, well, sports romance is not really a thing in the UK, at least as far as I know. But that sounds a little bit like what's that thing you like on telly? Ted Lasso. It's
very much. Well, I said to her in an interview, you must have been, how delighted were you when Ted Lasso came along? Because it obviously right into her wheelhouse. She makes up the team, I think. So it's like Richmond is in Ted Lasso. Loosely Crystal Palace or Brentford or something like that. She's made up a team and these brothers who play for them. I'm waiting to have told her that they need to meet Cambridge United in the FA Cup if you really want to up the glamour side of romance. But anyway, so Amy's coming along in just a moment, and believe me, it's a really great interview. So if you're on your treadmill in the gym or you're out for a walk today, you will just enjoy this chat with Amy. It's very worthwhile. So that's in a moment. We should say that tickets are now on sale for the Self-Publishing Show Live, which is going to be in June. Now, when I say they're on sale, Mark, they may or may not have sold out by the time this podcast goes out on Friday. So they are opening on Tuesday. And
so the day after we record, they will have been open from Tuesday as you listen to this, and we don't know. It is possible that they'll sell out. We try to be as equitable as possible, so they're available at a time that suits everyone as much as we can, with all time zones being considered. So we'll just have to see. Will people be COVID shy, or will they be itching to do something after 2 years of doing nothing? Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it will be. And the place to go to check, there is an automated waitlist system there. So if they have sold out, you can put your email address in and you'll get notified if any tickets come back, or actually we have a little bit of extra capacity, which at some point we're going to release, but not very many, I should say. So if you go to selfpublishingformula.com/SPS live, that is self-publishing show live, S Sierra Papa Sierra live, all one word. And that is the place to go. So that's the live show. And I think we can announce, can we not, Mark, that Joanna Penn is going to be speaking at the conference. And I know you're putting together the rest of the schedule as we speak.
Yeah, Joanna is coming. She actually emailed me and said, do I need to buy a ticket? And I said, no, you don't need to buy a ticket. So yeah, Joanna will be there. And I won't announce anyone else. We've had about, 6 or 7 people confirmed. And quite a big American author, we think, I haven't told you this yet, but I think it's coming over. And yeah, it will be, their speakers will be excellent. I have no doubts about that. And sponsored by Amazon, also sponsored by BookBub. So then there'll be Amazonians there. There will probably be some BookBubbers there, we hope. And others as well. So it's getting into the fun stuff now when I start to put things together and kind of see who might be interested in and interesting to speak to.
Be spoken to, yes.
Who would you be interested in listening to? There we go. And who they would be interested in speaking. So, should be good.
Good. Okay. Look, we'll give you more on the live event as we get closer to it. A couple of other things just to mention, that the TikTok course is just about ready to be launched. So if you're in our Ads for Authors program, you will have TikTok for Authors added very soon, and probably in the next week after this podcast goes out. I've had an interesting month with my book, The Final Flight, because I think I told you I had a Kindle monthly deal. It actually started off pretty well for me, and I'm getting really good low clicks, 11 pence, which is about 14 cents. I think it's pretty good. So I've been scaling up my Facebook ads, but at the same time, TikTok has been generating sales for me. So it's actually quite hard for me to disentangle where the sales are coming from, but I have had a profitable month this month by about $150, £150, I should say. And bearing in mind, I'm trying to spend all my profit so I break even, and I get I'm basically investing it in exposure and readers ready for book 2, which I'm revising at the moment. And that's a bit of a deadline weighing heavily on my shoulders at the moment, because I've got to get it done by the end of February, and I'm 103 pages into 250 pages on this Word document, double-sided. And my maths is that's a third, and we're more than halfway through the month. So that's not working, is it, at the moment?
How many pages? 250 pages?
250 pages. The last page
double-sided?
No, they're all labelled. No,
so 250 total pages, you've done 103. No, it's not a third, it's just under a half. 125 would be half, wouldn't it? So
yes, okay, it's just under half. Okay, but we're past the halfway point of the month. It's the 21st of February, so I'm behind the curve.
Yes, that's true, yeah.
So if you're listening, Andrew, my editor, it's that old thing about Douglas Adams. I love the sound of deadlines whooshing by. Anyway, I'm getting on with it and enjoying it. Right, I think we might be ready to talk about Amy Dawes and romance writing and her particular way of doing things. And actually, a little bit refreshing, a little of a spoiler alert for this interview, is Amy is not one of these people who writes dawn to dusk and turns out 3 books a week all year. Actually, she takes her time and has quite a job, I think, to motivate herself when it comes to writing another book, and does that to balance her life, which is a really great thing. And she's had fantastic success, including #1 in the Amazon store just a few weeks ago. So here is Amy Dawes.
This is the Self-Publishing Show. There's never been a better time to be a writer.
Amy Dawes, welcome to the Self-Publishing Show. How lovely to have you with us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Now, I'm excited because I wasn't sure whether you're a British author or American author, because you write a British series, which I'm intrigued about. So
I know. I get that a lot.
Okay, well, look, we're going to talk about that. But I'm going to start this interview by saying congratulations, because I saw you recently. In fact, we saw you, Lucy Score, Who else was there? It was 1, 2, and 3 in the charts.
Colleen Hoover, Megan Quinn.
Megan, yeah, because Megan on last week, and Colleen Hoover was like 4 or 5. I mean, you women were crushing it. Romance writers all alongside each other, taking turns at being number 1, which was so exciting. And I know you've had a number 1 recently. Were you number 1 a couple of weeks ago with that book?
Yeah, with Blindsided. Yeah, that's the one that hit number 1.
So you did all swap round.
Yeah, and it's a 2-year-old book, so it's really wild.
Okay, but being number 1 in the entire Kindle store in America is definitely worth saying congratulations for.
And thank you.
So we're talking to all of you to find out what the secret sauce is. And we have Lucy on quite a lot, but we had Megan last week and you on this week. So looking forward to delving into that. So yes, I'm intrigued now to find a little bit about your background and how come you know so much about soccer. So is it soccer, your books? They are football, aren't they?
Yeah, technically football because they're in the UK.
Yeah.
But yes, soccer in America.
We do occasionally say soccer in the UK. I think some British people are quite snobby about it. Or we don't call it soccer. Oh, they
are. I get so checked if I ever say soccer.
That's just
it's tough.
British people being moany. We do occasionally call it soccer, which I believe is an old-fashioned abbreviation for association football. It used to be called, because it used to be rugby football was the first football. Mm-hmm. There you go. Yeah. Anyway, so you're American, so you better give us a little bit of your background, if you don't mind, Amy.
If you think I'm a football or soccer expert, you're going to be sorely disappointed.
I'm going to test you on the offside rule later.
It's not going to be pretty. I firmly believe it's about the love story, and the soccer or football, whatever you want to call it, is just a beautiful backdrop for that love story. But yeah, my start in writing was kind of weird. My first book was a memoir. It was about my experience through recurrent pregnancy loss. I had a lot of second trimester pregnancy losses, and I guess I was grieving and I was trying to work out some of those experiences, and I didn't want to forget them because we did happily have my daughter, and I wanted to just remember the whole journey. So I wrote that, and I sort of shopped it around a little bit to agents, but I don't think anybody cared about it, honestly. I don't think I even think many people care about it now necessarily. It's a great story. It's a great journey. It's just a tough, niche market. So I self-published it. I just self-educated myself on how to do it because I just really wanted to hold that book in my hands and have it on my shelf forever. And that was a wonderful experience. But memoir and sort of tragic stories like that isn't necessarily what I would enjoy reading. So once I started realizing I knew how to write a book, I thought I should try my hand at fiction, and I love romance. So that's how that all started.
You were reading romance at the time? You a big romance reader? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, not until maybe my mid-20s though. I was so obsessed with college reading and that sucking the joy out of reading for me that, I just wasn't really into anything until I finally had time on my hands.
Yeah. There was a brief phase, I remember when I was working in London commuting, a brief phase of books of personal tragedy. So alcoholism and addiction and abuse and actually some of them are quite gripping, but it is, as you say, it's a pretty tough market.
Yeah.
It's a book that can help people. So it doesn't need to be commercially successful, does it? It just needs to be in the right hands.
No, exactly. And the connections I have with readers over that book are very special. Any reader that comes up to my table at a signing with that book, I just know they've probably been touched by infertility in some way. So that's an instant bond that we have. So that's a nice experience.
Yeah. And I'd imagine a good experience for you writing it.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So how did you teach yourself self-publishing? And when was this?
2014.
Okay, quite early.
I published it in May, so maybe 2013. I didn't even really know indie publishing was booming back then. I was just green behind the ears. I'd found a fantasy author in my hometown who I kind of befriended. She was self-publishing. She kind of walked me through a lot of stuff. And then once I got the itch, I Googled everything. I networked with anyone I could find that would talk to me. I was just voracious in trying to master this like crazy new industry.
Okay, so a lot of self-help in those days.
Yes.
And then how did you set about writing a romance novel? It took me years of talking to editors to learn how story structure worked, all the rest of it. Despite the fact I read books, I never noticed how they worked. Did you go through a similar, or did it spill out of you fully formed?
I think they've helped the fact that I'd read so much romance. So, you just kind of, I hate to say it's a formula because they all feel unique to me, but there is all of the same, beats that we hit in these stories over and over. That's what readers come back to romance for every time. And it helped that my first romance novel, I gave the heroine an infertility storyline. So I gave a lot of myself to her, which I always I've told people that I wrote what I knew back then until I wrote more and more. And then I realized I had to branch out. I had to have different characters that weren't like me, that didn't think like me, that had different experiences. And, I just slowly started pushing myself more as I continued writing.
That's interesting. The reason I say that is because we are going to talk about TikTok later, because I know you're big on there and you credit it. I suspect you credit it with some of your success recently.
Yeah.
I seem to see a bit of a controversy going on about pregnancy storylines in romance on TikTok. Some people sort of for them or anti them, but you had not only sort of pregnancy, but pregnancy loss storyline in a romance book.
Yeah, I mean, this is my very first series, which is called the London Lovers series. And the reason I started being an American writing books that took place in London was when I was going through my infertility journey. I remember being kind of curious about what if I just started a new life somewhere, moved away from my hometown. I'm a Midwest girl. Women get married young here. They have babies relatively young. And I just kind of always fantasized about moving to a different country. I loved London, and it was like a fantasy escape for me. And so I gave that to a character. She was from the Midwest. She struggled with infertility with her partner, decided to leave that life behind and go to London. And so that's how I started this London Lovers series. And it was originally American Girls in London, but as the series continued, British characters started talking to me and needing their stories told. And then it blossomed into my sports romance. And so that's kind of why I'm this American writing mostly London-based books.
And was there football in that first book?
No, not at all. In my whole London Lover series, you could tell I was still working out past trauma because those books are really angsty and emotional. Even if it wasn't the infertility storyline, the later books were like that too. But I think as I healed and found this new love of writing, I embraced my comedic side, which I've always had. I'm a classic middle child, always attention seeking. And so, comedy is in me. And so once I kind of healed and found a new journey, that's how I kind of spilled into romance and rom-com and sports romance.
Okay, so you did that book. When was that? Must be 2015, 16, is it?
The London Lover series. I was publishing fast in the beginning. Now I'm down to about 2 books a year, but in the beginning I was 3 to 4 because I was just obsessed with it. I was obsessed with publishing, with finding the readers, with finding connections, learning the business. So it consumed me. Even though I had a day job, I was writing until 2 or 3 in the morning every night. On top of that, because I was just so hungry to tackle this industry and to make a career out of it.
And when did the writing become your day job?
It was when I launched my Harris Brothers series, which is my soccer series. It was about the 3rd book into that series. I could see that series taking off. Every series was doubling in income every release. So I could see it doubling. And by the 3rd one, when that doubled on top of the 2nd one, which I was already really excited about, I was like, okay, I think I have to, look into quitting my day job and giving myself more time to write, which is funny because that was the minute I hit writer's block, which was when I quit my day job. It was just so bizarre.
Huh. You just suddenly sat at home and thought, oh no.
I know. I was just sitting there and I could not figure out anything to write. It was just, I don't know, the pressure, I guess, it was wild.
Weird. Okay. And in terms of educating yourself on the publishing business, obviously things had become there's a little bit more resources around. I mean, SPF started in 2015 and it seemed to be quite a lot of people doing the sort of thing we were doing. So did you continue to learn and develop your self-publishing skills then?
Oh, absolutely. I still remember this author I reached out to via email because I couldn't figure out how to get moving with sales. And she taught me about BookBub. I had no idea. I just somehow never read about BookBub, never knew about a sale. And I had this great cliffhanger on my first 2 books. And I remember I got a freebie BookBub on the first book, and the second book like hit the top 5 in all Apple books. And I remember Apple reaching out to me and congratulating me. And it was just this random like sale that catapulted the book 2 into the top sales chart. So like, so it was just a lot of networking and reaching out to people and figuring out what was working for people.
And fast forward to today, you say you're now writing 3 books a year now?
2 if I'm lucky.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's still more than I write. I'm 1 book a year if I'm lucky. And how many books do you have out?
20. I just released my 20th.
Okay. Oh, yeah, you did say 20. And how many series are that within there?
There's 3 series. Yes, okay. 3 series.
So are your series serials in the sense that you should read one after the other? Do they work standalone? Are they simply set in the same universe? Or?
Most of them read great as standalones, but like my Harris Brothers series, it's about 4 brothers who all play professional soccer in England. So reading them in order is kind of nice because one completes their love story and you see it in book 2. So, but I do make sure that all can be read as a standalone, and I often always release as a standalone. I don't connect it to the series when I release because I am convinced that scares readers away, and I would rather trap them with thinking they're getting a standalone, and then they read and they can tell that the secondaries probably have stories out, and then I hopefully hook them in the back matter.
That's interesting because I think Megan Quinn does the same thing. I spoke to her last week.
Megan Quinn's a good friend of mine. We probably have a lot of similarities.
Yeah, very interesting. So I'm assuming the Harris Brothers is inspired by Neil Harris, who played for Cambridge United and then Millwall in London.
Oh, totally. Yeah, obviously.
That's what I thought. Yeah, your knowledge of 1980s League Two football is incredible. Okay, I'm going to have to read one of these books because it sounds like right up my street. Okay, so here you are writing 2 books a year now, do you think? I mean, have you deliberately decided to slow down because of burnout, or just don't need to write 3 and 4 books a year? I hate to say this, but I'm not someone who works very hard. I do once I feel the pressure. And for some reason, my process is I release a book. I enjoy the social media and I enjoy marketing. So when I release a book, I really just live in that, talking to readers, posting stuff, making content for like sales and things like that. So I think I live in that too long. And then it's hard to like stay in the habit of writing every day. I do not have that habit. So basically I release a book, I market it for a couple months. Usually the audio comes out a month later. That feels like a whole brand new release. I market that like a brand new release. And then by the time I'm done with all that, it's been 3 months and I haven't written a word in my next book. So it's feast or famine writing with me. Like I do none and then I do it all, Personality type coming out there, I think.
Yeah. It's not necessarily healthy, but
it works.
It works. Yeah.
And so marketing, what marketing are you doing now?
I do Facebook ads. That's my primary advertising. I do Amazon marketing ads as well. I do lots of TikTok, lots of social media engagement, Instagram, Facebook, the usual platforms.
Facebook is your number 1 ad spend.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And in terms of Amazon ads, you're also spending money there. Is this, so I always ask people this question about Amazon ads. Do you see a profit on the dashboard in Amazon ads, or do you see a loss, but know it's a profit because of read through? And
I guess I have to be honest with you. I hired Nicholas Eric to run my Amazon marketing ads. I don't know if you've had him on the show. I think maybe you have. But so he runs my Amazon ads. I do all my own Facebook ads. I really look at the big picture every day. I look at what I make every day and what I spend. And there's a percentage I like to stay in. And the minute that percentage gets a little ugly, then I tweak things or I turn things down. So I don't necessarily focus on which one specifically is working the best, or it's a very big picture look for me.
Okay. And in terms of Facebook ads, so you're hands-on with Facebook ads, you crop out the images, you write the copy, you do that all yourself? Yeah,
my background, 10 years I did video production. And so there was a lot of graphic design in there as well. So I actually do all my own covers as well. So it's very easy for me to jump in Photoshop and grab a stock photo and add my cover to it.
You spend a lot of time on stock photo sites looking at pecs and rippled muscles.
Man chest. Yes, that man chest. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I noticed that looking at your covers. Okay, so you're doing Facebook ads and obviously applying for BookBubs and stuff, as we still know, are still a big part, I'm sure, of your marketing effort.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of the organic stuff, I noticed you are active on Twitter and Instagram. You say you enjoy that. Do you find that organic social media helps you sell books, or is it just something you enjoy doing?
It really helps for me. I think I'm very relatable. I have no filter, and I don't mind sharing silly parts of my day. Like yesterday, I got ready for this interview because I had it in my head. It was Monday. So I used that as a way to connect with readers. You
got ready for it thinking it was...
Oh, 100%. I was ready.
Because I saw the tweet. Ready. I saw it about 10 minutes before we started. So I've replied to it, but I wasn't 100% sure. I was, I'm not the center of the world, so I was 100% sure it was my interview getting ready for.
It was for you.
I thought, were you rehearsing and checking the look and the lighting, but you actually got ready on the wrong day?
I actually got ready on the wrong day, and that's devastating to me because I do not like getting ready. So,
you should have called.
Yeah, it's relatable content though. People can relate to that. And I think the no filter vibe that I put off translates well on social media. So it's easy for me to connect with them. So which is why I think social media is more enjoyable for me than it is for some other authors.
Okay, well, let's talk about TikTok then. So this is the newest platform. We mention it quite a lot. I've started myself on TikTok about 6 weeks ago, and I'm convinced that it's a really important platform for authors. It sounds like, from everything I know about TikTok and what works there, the way you describe yourself is ideal for TikTok. Yeah, the kind of no-filter, personality-led presence on TikTok. So tell us about your TikTok experience so far and what difference it's made.
I can't say I'm a TikTok expert. I can look at other authors with similar followers of me, and they're getting a lot more views. And I don't really know what I'm doing wrong or right, but I do know just being there makes me more accessible to BookTokers. When Blindsided hit #1, there was a BookToker that had a video about that book with over 1 million views.
Wow.
I thought it was my TikTok that had 200,000 views at the same time. And then she slid into my DMs and she's like, just so you know, I have one up too, and it's over 1 million views. And I was like, that makes a lot more sense, because normally it takes more than 200,000 views to hit #1 in the store. So I think it was a little bit of a snowball effect of hers and mine. And then, so that helped, I think, just having presence myself there while she was doing her thing. I mean, it's so awesome when it's BookTokers doing the work for you.
Yes.
But I think you got to be out there and putting yourself out there for them to find you sometimes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So that's really interesting. So somebody else, and did they already have a big following, or did their post about your book happen to blow up?
It was her biggest one for sure. And I think she had maybe less followers than I did at the time. So she told me it was her biggest video ever. And I think it still is to this date. And it's even doubled in size. It's got over 2 million views now. So it's just crazy, but it was really well done. And you can learn a lot from BookTokers, just spending time on that platform and seeing what they do and what it's all about hooks. It's hooks, 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 just these spicy, one-liners that make you pull into the screen, when you read it, and it makes you immediately want to go buy that book. It's amazing. It's, I think, what the early indie authors experienced on Facebook in the early days. All they had to do was put a post up and everybody ran and bought that book, That's the magic of TikTok right now. So I'm just going to keep throwing stuff out there until something sticks. Yeah.
Well, you're certainly not the only author we've had on in the last few months who've said that they reached #1 in the store because of TikTok. It's definitely a thing that's happening. Certainly in romance, much more than the other genres, but I'm selling books in military thriller. I know I was looking at a guy today, actually interacting with him on our Facebook group, who is in fantasy, and another guy in sci-fi. So it's, romance seems to, as always in the publishing industry, does seem to dominate when you first look at it. But there's 1 billion people on. It's the most visited website on the planet last year, wasn't it? So I think everyone's readers are there. And if they're not there now, they're joining, because it's suddenly doing that thing Facebook did when it was for the kids in 2006.
Yeah, exactly.
And now the kids think it's for the adults. Well, TikTok the demographic will broaden, of course.
Yep, I believe it. I believe it. It's fun, and I enjoy video content from my background in video production. So it's very easy for me to just go on there and have fun. It can be very distracting, though. Like I know at some point I have to put the TikTok away and write another book because that's what readers are looking for. But it's a delicate balance.
And do you find that some people are put off the idea of TikTok because they feel that they've got to have a personality or give be an actor or something? Is that something perhaps you find you're comfortable with, or do you think that you don't necessarily need to be like that to be successful on TikTok?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely lean heavy into comedy in all of my social media messages. But there's multiple ways to do TikTok. I mean, there's a guy that just puts out candles on his whole TikTok profile. All he does is just snuff out candles. And it is so funny. And I don't know why I want to watch it all the time, but that just goes to show you got to think outside the box. If you don't want your face on there, there are ways to do it. There are ways to have a following and find readers and find interest in viewers if you're creative enough.
That's interesting. I do think one thing I've noticed that people who are successful on TikTok is they do stay in that lane, don't they? So that's an extreme example of the person who puts out candles. But there's a woman who lives not far from me who skips. And if you look at her posts, it's in the same shot, and it's her skipping in the same way. I think she put out one post that was like a look back on the year. But that's staying in your lane. That seems to be absolutely key, doesn't it?
I think that is one thing I don't do well, because I think my creative brain, skipping, obviously. And my creative brain likes variety. So I think sometimes I need to look closer at what's worked, what's gone more viral, and stick in that lane. But I do enjoy mixing it up. So that could be why maybe some of my views aren't as high as others. But either way, it's still bringing in readers. It doesn't have to be super viral videos to keep continuing to grow your following and grow readers. There is a middle point that you can just coast.
Yeah. And how often do you post on TikTok?
Right now I'm doing 3 to 4 a day. Wow. Which I know everybody, when I first joined TikTok and people were telling me I had to do that, I was like, no way. I could never. How do people come up with those ideas? But the more time you spend on the platform, the more ideas just pop in your head, and they're quick recordings. I can do some in 5 minutes, and I save it to the drafts, and it sits there until a day when I don't feel like making content, and then I can post it that day. So I do think it is possible if you spend enough time on the platform. But again, that takes away from writing, that takes away from marketing in other ways, doing advertising. It's just such a balance.
And do you not find that posting one TikTok starts to impact the views on the previous one? I think I thought I noticed that recently. I had a couple of ones that blew up to sort of 40 or 50,000 views. And then my next one was 8,000, and I'd posted just after it quite quickly. And I do wonder if that's the algorithm stopped that one showing. Maybe.
I'm not actually sure. There's so much to TikTok that's a mystery. Yeah. And people that say they think they know, I'm like, but do you? Because I think I could come up with an example that didn't apply with that. So it's just so hard to know.
That'll work on TikTok that little bit then. But do you?
But do you?
The whole "But do you" series. Yeah, I can see that happening. I might nick it. Okay, well that's great, and it's exciting, and we're talking more and more about this platform because, like you say, in the early days of Facebook, it wasn't pay to play; it was organic, and you could even if it was you posting your picture of your dinner, sort of thing people do, it went to all your friends. And all your friends commented. It was now, it doesn't even go to all your friends. It will go to your friends who interact with you the most. And Facebook quickly works out this post is not being interacted with very much. And that's TikTok on steroids now, but without the pay to play aspect of it. Presumably that will come a year or two's time.
I know, probably, I'm dreading it.
Yeah. But the adverts on TikTok at the moment don't look to me like they're going to be massively successful, certainly for book sales, but the organic stuff's good. Oh, well done. It's good to see you, and I should be going through your back catalogue after this interview.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a wild ride and a lot of fun.
Okay, well, let's talk about process, if you don't mind. So we know that you're self-described as lazy, and here's the secret. Every writer is lazy, by the way. Every writer finds it difficult to write and spends hours procrastinating. So it's a slight exaggeration. There are outliers, but they're few and far between, right? Most of us struggle.
I know. Actually, I kind of describe my business philosophy as willy-nilly. Like when
that
I
sounds
started
good for a
to try
romance writer.
Yeah, sure. Right. Yeah, if you look at it that way, yes, definitely. But I kind of just go with what works for me. And like, I'm lucky that my readers keep coming back when I make them wait 6 or 7 months between books. A lot of romance authors are releasing far more than 2 books a year. I think the fact that my social media stays active helps readers remember me. So when I go those 6 months between releases, they still are engaging with me. So that helps. But yeah, as far as my process, like I say this, I release a book and then I just kind of goof off until my self-hatred gets so bad that I feel so guilty for not writing that I finally am forced to sit down and start writing.
Right.
Like I said, not healthy.
Well, it all sounds very healthy and balanced. So well done for having a personality that enriches and grows you every day. Look, yep. we all operate. We all find these ways. There was a brilliant, actually, there's a guy, he was an F-16 pilot. So I remember he was in our community early on and he wrote this book about getting fit. And he said, everybody's lazy and everybody takes shortcuts. And he said he operates at this elite level of these single seat F-16 pilots in the USAF. He said everyone in there is lazy and finds a shortcut to success. And that's quite a clever little thing to understand about and not to feel guilty about doing things in a way that's going to be more efficient for you. But whatever works, right?
Yep. Whatever works. It's my process, like it or not.
And in terms of the actual writing day, when the writing days happen, are you writing at the moment?
I should be.
Okay.
I'm real close to just about hating myself enough to sit down and write.
Okay, so maybe this conversation will spur it on. You said it out loud.
Yeah, definitely.
And what will that look like? How quickly do you write the manuscript?
Like I said, I'm a bit of a feast or famine. The first few chapters always take me longer. I'll kind of agonize over them for a few weeks as I get to know the characters, or not a few weeks, maybe a week or 2. And then like sometimes when I really start writing, I can have high word count days because I'll just write into the night or into the morning. Because when it flows, I don't stop it. I'll suffer for it the next day and I won't be able to write a single word. But that flow could have gotten me like 15,000 words in one long session. But that's just how I've been for a while now. So that's,
wow.
Yeah. Okay. Also not healthy.
Again, yeah. So
there's a theme here.
Don't do this at home, kids.
Yeah, right.
But you're not the only one who writes like that. So you sort of binge write almost.
Yes, definitely binge writing.
And your family know not to disturb you when the red light's on?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. My husband gets really excited because he's like, oh, we'll back off. Yeah. She's finally writing, because he knows that it needed to happen weeks ago. So we just let it happen.
And in terms of what the manuscript looks like at the end, what's your process after and how much work, how much does it change to the final thing?
Interestingly enough, I'm a big editor as I write. I know a lot of authors say don't do that. Just keep going. I do not. I rewrite. Like when I sit down the next day, I go back to the chapter previously and I edit as I write. I call it fluffing because sometimes when it's flowing really fast, I don't necessarily pay much attention to the tags or the descriptions. It's mostly dialogue stuff that I let it kind of flow. So then I go back and I fluff and I edit and I tweak. And then I move on. And then I have alpha readers, usually my PA and one other gal that read stuff as I write it. And so by the time I get to the end, I'm pretty much done. I can pass it off to an editor and it goes through the editing process, which usually doesn't involve a lot of heavy beta revisions because the alpha readers have helped me catch things as they've popped up before they turned into a big issue.
So you sit down to write, you look at the previous scene, you fluff that, as you say it, but at the same time, you're getting notes from your PA and your other alpha reader. So you'll go back and fix those as well before moving on.
Yeah, my Clifton strengths, number 2 strength is communication. So I know that I need that moment of communication to help me feed my brain and keep me motivated. So a lot of times my PA will read what I wrote the day before. We'll talk about it the next morning. We'll think about where I'm going to go next, and then I'll sit down and do it. So yeah, that's definitely a part of my process.
Okay, so really it's a case of proofing.
Yeah.
At the end of that stage. And then in terms of the marketing, you say you do your own covers still?
Yep, I do my own covers. Still.
You upload and
yep,
press the button.
Yeah, I pay a formatter. I quit doing that a long time ago because that was exhausting. So I get it formatted and then I upload it all myself and run my own Facebook ads, make all my own graphics. Even my marketing graphics that go on social media, I make most of those. My PA will make some, but the original like look all comes from me.
Is your PA full-time or is it somebody you use?
Part-time, and she's in Germany. So that's why sometimes the time difference is nice. I'll send her my chapters, as I go to bed, and she can have them read before I even wake up. So that's nice.
Yeah. So it's interesting because you don't have a massive team around you, considering, you've got 20 books, you've been number one in the store. Some people have quite a big team at this stage, but that sort of balances out because of the fact that you don't quick release all the way through the year.
Yeah.
So you can
definitely
have that time. You're not spending money on staff at the same time. You don't need so many products. It seems to work around. It's not unhealthy. I think it works quite nicely.
Yeah. And I do enjoy the time off. We have a lot of hobbies as a family. So it's lovely when I don't have to be worrying about word count and stuff every day.
Okay. So the books themselves, are the Harris series, is that done now or?
Yeah, pretty much. There's 10 books in the series. The Harris brothers were 5, and then they had teammates. And the last one was a secret brother that's connected to the Harris brothers. So that kind of rounded out the whole series. But they did have some teammates that I could write about. I'm not sure. It seems crazy to leave that series when it's my most popular right now. So I might go back, but I have another series based in the US, which I have to admit, when I write US-based stories, it is like so much easier.
Yeah.
There's constant questions I have to ask when I'm writing British characters or Scottish or whatever. So not having that is a huge weight off my shoulders. So I enjoy my US series as well.
I mean, I do have a few questions about the football series. I do find it intriguing to speak to somebody who's so Midwest and writes these books set in London about football. So my first one is, how pleased were you that Ted Lasso came along?
Oh my God, it was the best. It was the best. I said that I would have loved to picture my series just like that show. It is so well done.
Yeah. I mean, it's also just raised, I think in America, probably raised this whole knowledge base of UK football a bit more than where it was before. Secondly, have you mentioned Cambridge United at any stage in your books, and are you going to?
No, I'll put it on the list though.
Okay. All right. If you need any information, I can give you historical accuracy.
Okay.
On that. But if we could win something in the books, that would be great.
Yeah.
And thirdly, then you alluded to this. I mean, it's a big ask. If I was to write about NFL, so American sport's quite big in the UK, so I can watch quite a lot of it, talk to a few friends, but probably still make mistakes. But you're writing about UK football, which I'm guessing doesn't have massive coverage in America. I mean, I know Premier League's quite big, but how do you get that? Not just, if you're going to make some factual reference to a match, you've got to get that right. But it's the culture and the way people talk to each other, which is, football's a very British thing, right? That part of it, the banter.
Sure. Yeah.
How'd you get that right?
Yeah. I have a lot of British beta readers. My PA is German, so she's very familiar with European football. And so it's just a lot of asking a lot of questions. Again, my number 2 strength is communication. So I can always tell when I'm walking into something that I need to know more about. And so then I talk to people and I just try to get the feel right, I guess. And I'm not even saying I get it right every time, but ultimately I'm telling a good story, and I'm telling a story that people are connecting to the characters. So if there's some specifics that maybe fall short for some people who want to be mad about it, that's fine, but they're in the minority. So I'm only doing the best I can. And I'm researching and getting British beta readers, and hoping I'm close.
Well, that's healthy, I think. That's a healthy bit there. And do you have a lot of British readers, or are these more written for an American audience?
It's still a lot of US readers. And it's funny, I'll have some British beta readers be like, oh my gosh, she's American. And it's like she knows the British humor so well. And then I'll have some British reviewers who are like, oh, it's so obvious she's American. So I get it on both spectrums from my overseas readers of being happy or sad. My narrators for these books are British, and they've always said I got it right. Now, I'm paying them to do this, so who knows if they're right, but I don't know. It's just, you just can't make everybody happy.
No, and nor should you. And some people like to moan, don't they? So they like to contact somebody with a complaint. We all know that. So you seem to take that very well, though. Well, look, you get a lot right. You must get a lot right, because these books are selling and making people happy, and you have a huge audience. So
Yeah. Thank you.
And the only thing needed, and I've worked out what it is now, is Cambridge United beating West Ham United in the FA Cup. If you could have that.
Oh, yes. Oh, I did have an FA Cup game in the last book. So yeah, I should have worked on that.
Yeah, because Dawson supports West Ham. Actually, that's an interesting side note in terms of copyright. I know when people write NFL books, they tend not to use the real teams because the NFL is quite protective over its billion-dollar industry and might come after you. Do you use real teams in the UK, or is that an issue or not?
So my Harris brothers were based on a fictional team because I knew I would be writing possibly more in the club. But some of them end up going to different teams, and then I used real teams. But the clubs were never necessarily as much a part of the storyline. So I was mostly just worried about that core team where most of the series is based around, and I made them fictional just to feel safe. I think my mentions of the other clubs are safe enough that I should be okay.
Yeah. Well, that's a bit like Ted Lasso, isn't it? With Richmond made up, but they go and visit. That's actually based at Crystal Palace, but they go and visit Manchester United and City and so on.
Exactly.
I would think, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, so this is not legal advice, but if it's passing reference to something that's everyday part of the culture in the UK, you would hope that would be absolutely fine. If you set a book around Manchester City, which is a very rich club in the UK, I can imagine their lawyers being, hang on, you're basically trading off our success. But that's not what's happening here. So
Yeah, and originally I was worried that maybe there'd be conflict in the club and I would never want to seem like I'm reporting on something that I know happened in a real club. So that's why but for the most part, like I said, the soccer, I mean, there's always a soccer game in all my books. There's always practices and things like that. But really, it's the love story that this is all about, and the character growth and friendships and all that. So
those Harris brothers. Well, look, I've really enjoyed chatting to you. I'm very excited about the possibility of Cambridge popping up in a future book. So you have to let me know, because that's the one I'm going to read. I do want to read a football set book. And congratulations again, Amy. So you, Megan, Colleen, Lucy, all killing it, all at the same time was brilliant to see. And I think you're all, I did look up in our Facebook group, you're all members of our Facebook community, one way or another. So that was thrilling for us as well. But it does feel like indies are arriving in big force now and starting to dominate. And maybe a little bit of TikTok is because of that.
I was just going to say, thanks TikTok.
Well, it's indies move fast, don't we? We're agile, you get onto the bit. It takes nothing. If you want to do that tomorrow, you do it. Hodder and Staunton, or one of the big publishers, I'm going to get sued now, one of the big publishers, there are others. If they said, should we do TikTok? How many months is it going to take, do you think, before they've got their TikTok policy in place and they then start to think about it? But you did it that afternoon, no doubt. That's like me. So there you go. Well, look, congratulations. I know you've been sitting there for 24 hours all made up, waiting to... waiting.
I slept in this. I slept in this and just rose like this
Can
today.
I say you look amazing? You've just woken up.
Thank you.
No, thank you so much indeed, Amy. And let's see you in London for a football game at some point.
All right, that would be amazing.
This is the Self-Publishing Show. There's never been a better time to be a writer.
There you go. Really lovely story, Amy, who had a bit of a tragic time in her life and turned that into a writing episode, fell in love with writing, if you like, and is now having a ball, I think, writing about these handsome football-playing brothers. Could have been us, Mark, because we're quite good at football, aren't we, both of us?
No.
No, that is true. I made that up.
No, I don't think that could really be us, but no, it's it's great to see that, and that's get to number one in the store. That's life changing. The amounts of books you're selling, and Kindle page reads, which I should mention. We've mentioned this off air. I saw on Facebook you mentioned Lucy's score earlier, and she posted on Facebook a kind of a nice glass trophy, and it commemorated 1 billion page reads on
incredible
in KU, and really impressive. And it was very nicely done little trophy, and it looked very much like the kind of thing that Amazon sends, because I've had a couple of those in the past where Thomas and Mercer they send like little kind of milestone presents, I suppose, or things that you can stick on the wall. So I've had a few of those, and this one looked exactly like the kind of thing that Amazon might do. I know with YouTube, for example, you get to 1 million views, they send you a kind of a nice YouTube memento to stick on the wall. So it looked just like that, but it turns out that her husband, Mr. Lucy, had done that for her. So he'd seen that she didn't know she'd hit 1 billion, but he did, because I think he takes care of the business side of things, and he had gone to the trouble of sourcing this very nice glass statue for her to mark the occasion. that is kind of that's husband ninjaing. We probably feel quite inadequate compared to that. That's,
top level, yeah. That's breakthrough territory. Well done, Mr. Lucy. And
I think we basically can't say well done. He's making us look bad, so we basically have to. The next time we see him, we're going to kick him in the shins.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks very much, Tim. Well done.
But 1 billion views. Wow.
1 billion page reads. Yeah, so that's
page reads rather. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very impressive. Well, it's extremely impressive. I checked my numbers, not quite at that level, not a million miles behind it, but yeah, she's streaking ahead. But good for her. It's fantastic to see. Yeah,
and couldn't happen to nicer people. Well done. Okay, I think that might be it. Just a reminder, we may have some tickets to the show, the live show in June in London, still left. I'm not sure. They might sell out straight away. They did last year, actually, but who knows this time. selfpublishingformula.com/SPS live. That's Sierra Papa Sierra Live, all one word. That's, my friend, is that. You can go back to rubbing two sticks together for dinner tonight because you've been set back into the dark ages in the West Country.
West Country, Southwest. But yes, yes, I will be doing that. And well, next I've got to do a kind of an email about the show. So given that we are in the past, when people listen to this, I'm going to be telling people all about the tickets they might not now be able to buy. So
I've got to get at least another 10 pages done today before I can go off to my exciting cricket committee meeting tonight. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much indeed, Mark, and to our guest Amy, and to everyone behind the scenes who puts this show together. We wouldn't be here without you. Thank you indeed. All that remains for me to say is it's a goodbye from me.
And a goodbye from him.
Goodbye.
Get show notes, the podcast archive, and free resources to boost your writing career at selfpublishingshow.com. Join our thriving Facebook group at selfpublishingshow.com/Facebook. Support the show at patreon.com/selfpublishingshow. And join us next week for more help and inspiration so that you can make your mark as a successful indie author. Publishing is changing, so get your words into the world and join the revolution with The Self-Publishing Show.